Hello and welcome to the first of hopefully many videos in a series I'd like to call State of the Game. In these videos I hope to examine issues, updates or the general feeling within games that are currently supported by our gaming community. Now in this pilot video for the series we will be discussing the game Conqueror's Blade. I've invited some members from our community to weigh in as we discuss a topic which for some can be considered a fairly controversial subject, but for veterans of the game, you are no stranger to territory war. Now, for those who don't know what territory war is, it is the endgame content where houses fight for control of land throughout the various regions to potentially be able to contest the capture of the capital and be named the king or emperor of that region. Now, depending on the size of your house or if you play as part of the cohort system, territory war can look very different based on who you are. Some players may find territory war exciting with lots of action, whereas others may find it dull and boring. Nevertheless, territory war is a major part of what keeps players in this game. Now, as the seasons have changed, the territory war system has seen not only its fair share of controversy, with many players and their respective houses finding ways to manipulate the system to their advantage, with other houses being unable to fight due to these exploits. But it has also seen what many would likely describe as the only reason they keep coming back. The developers have made changes to the territory war system which were introduced in the previous season, so what better time to discuss the state of territory war as we have it. Having a complete season of experience within the system and coming into this season fresh, I welcome my guests to help the new players understand exactly what is territory war and how they feel about the current experience in this piece of endgame content. Now, to introduce my guests, we have three members from our house to give their opinions. I welcome along the players known as Thaldrin, Last Whisper and Itzno. Thanks for coming, guys.
No problem.
No problem.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, we'll start with you, Itzno. The first thing that I'm going to want to know from you guys, tell me, why do you play Conqueror's Blade and what is it about the game that you enjoy the most?
Well, first and foremost, I like playing games with my friends, usually. And my friend Last Whisper here invited me to play Conqueror's Blade. And I feel that being part of a community, in this case a house, is very useful to me and like gave me growth as a person as well. It made me be able to be more expressive.
So you're saying that the sort of community within Conqueror's Blade and the way you have to work together is a good way to sort of build real life skills as well?
Yes, I'd say so. Because it allows me to contribute to the community. Even if it's just a little thing like giving suggestions to the devs in the official Discord, I feel like I'm part of the community that is Conqueror's Blade.
Oh, that's really cool. That's a really nice answer. What about you, Last Whisper? What about Conqueror's Blade that you enjoy the most? Tell us why you're in it.
So for me, I enjoy strategy games and micromanagement, and I like games that have these little tricks that I can use to gain an advantage. For example, XPing your unit or time your skills. And this game, I like it because it lets you adopt multiple playstyles, being an assassin, a tank, or a damage dealer. You also have the veterancy trees for the units, which lets you further customize how you want to play, so it can fit your playstyle. Though I think sadly for many units, only one of the paths is viable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've seen that a lot, that a lot of the times there'll be really only one path that's worth taking, and I guess with such variety it'd be nice to see if if more units could actually have a reason to really choose both lines. But yeah, no, you're right, it's most units, as veterans will be familiar, really only get sort of one line, so no, that's a very fair point. But yeah, I can certainly see your point of view. I like it. Thaldrin, tell us, why are you in Conqueror's Blade? What do you like about it?
Well, I came across it randomly on Steam back when it was, I think, in beta, and I gave it a go. And I enjoy the medieval sort of games, the strategy games. Conqueror's Blade's got a little bit of about everything from general types of games like this, but it does a few things differently, a few things better, and a few things more realistic, which I really enjoy. It also gives me a way to socialise with people because I don't do that a whole lot, so it gets me to actually do that, and I enjoy making the new connections with the people in the houses I have. I mean, I originally played on my own up until a couple seasons ago when I joined this house, so yeah.
I think I'm seeing a common theme that so far all of you are a fan of not only the genre of that medieval theme, but also that strategy and sort of RPG element. So I guess that's something for anyone else who enjoys this style of game, the strategy, and especially the medieval genre. It's obviously right up their alley. So it's obviously a common theme that we all enjoy such a thing. Now, something that we're here today to talk about is obviously territory war. Now, we've just come fresh from a territory war where we've successfully defended a city of ours and took back a fort that we were holding. So, all in all, a very positive night with very little negative. It's no. Tell me sort of what territory war is to you.
To me, I'd say territory war is a place to contribute to your house, build friendships, and maybe gather wins and losses along the way as well.
Sorry, go on.
And I think that no matter like if we win or we lose, it's still we gain something at the end of it.
Do you find that with your current, I suppose, experience or exposure to territory war, do you think that it's more suited to large houses, medium houses, small houses? What do you think is the right size?
I'd say at the moment it's more suited for medium size to large houses, but small houses can be able to participate as well.
Cool. And Last Whisper, tell us what territory war is to you.
Well, territory war to me is a much more organized siege battle where you can actually communicate with your team to fight. I think I find the most fun in the planning and pre-selecting the units to match the current meta and situation. For example, defending a city will require some flames or imperial pikes or something, and I enjoy playing with my housemates and teaming up with them to fight or defend and attack a fief. Territory war, I think, is just about the teamwork and the chaos, the screaming and the laughing. It's much more different than queuing solo. You have to consider victory above all else, not just the kills.
Now, you mentioned there that it's not just about queuing solo, and it's a more organised siege battle. Now for you, would you say that territory war is more enjoyable than siege because you can actually queue with your entire house and actually play with people who want to communicate with you? Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel at the moment, especially in territory war, with as you said, with meta units? Do you feel that territory war is maybe a little bit directed in a certain way because of the meta, or do you feel that it's still fairly open and you can bring whatever unit you want? How do you feel about that?
I think as the season progresses, the meta has become more directed towards certain units, and I don't think it's like really as open as it's before. Like, I can't play my Iron Pagodas now. Like, last season I could play my Javelins, but now they don't do any damage really. So yeah, I think it's more directed towards more OP units like the Keshiks.
Which is a shame, because obviously with the amount of units in the game, it would really be nice to have a wide variety and see many different types of units in a territory war, rather than, as we say, the 3 or 4 meta units coming at you in waves. So, Taljan, tell us what territory war is for you.
For me, territory war is essentially my socializing night, at least outside of work. It's for me to talk to the people that I actually talk to outside of work, to have a good laugh, and to hopefully not have a complete slaughter. But try and make some progress on one of the main 2 end games, being ranked and territory war. See if we can improve from last season, but lately that really depends on whether or not we can get new members to the house, which is generally at the moment it's they come in and then they immediately leave. Like same with a lot of houses, the influx hasn't been so great.
You mentioned that territory war for you is really more of a social thing. I guess if you've been doing territory war for a while, would it be fair to say that the bond that I guess you get with your housemates creates that social atmosphere, that the devs have done something right in that they've made something that people can bond together with and actually make fun. So you'd almost sort of suggest that territory war for you isn't just a game mode in a game, but it's something that you sort of plan socially because it's what you're doing with your online friends. Is it that sort of level for you?
Yeah, I mean, before I joined the house, I didn't really do territory war. I tried a couple times, but because I wasn't in a house or I was just on my own, I just get kicked out of the battle by whoever is in lead of the battle, and I could only join whatever random one. Didn't really know a lot about it, but and then it's become mainly the main reason why I play the game, and it's the whole social thing. So if I wasn't in the house, then I probably wouldn't play anymore because I just don't have that spark anymore, apparently.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying too. As a single player trying to do territory war, as we've seen many times, it's almost impossible for someone who isn't in a house to really do it by themselves. And even as a cohort member, we often see single cohort members running around by themselves, not really with the backing of the cohort. So, yeah, I guess it's a shame that there's not more, I suppose, strength given to single players to try and fight in territory war, because obviously the bond that territory war has created for you with other players in a house, a lot of players who haven't joined a house or don't know how or are too scared to, I guess they're missing out on something that potentially could mean just as much to them as it does to you. It's an interesting perspective. So something that I want to move to now, and for any of you who have actually seen my previous video on Conqueror's Blade, should I or shouldn't I, would probably think that my views on territory war are covered in a fair bit of salt, so to speak, and that's coming from someone who could be called a grumpy old man these days. But what I want to ask our guest now is something that will lead into the next two questions really, but it's very important because it's going to be how the game survives long term. So Itzno, I want to ask you, how do you feel about territory war in its current state?
To be honest with you, I think that at its current state, territory war has a lot to improve on. Like how I've mentioned before that small houses can join in territory war as well. I still feel that those small houses need to be a part of some kind of alliance in order to be able to participate and have fun in territory war. And I think that if the devs were able to accommodate those small houses so they are able to participate a bit more, I think it would be very great.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. And one thing about territory war that I know makes it difficult is obviously alliances. Currently in the game, an alliance can only be made up of 3 houses, which obviously makes it difficult to get everyone that you want in there. Do you think that maybe changing the number of houses that can be in an alliance could be a good thing to maybe encourage alliances to invite in smaller houses to join them?
Yeah, I'd say so too, because I've heard of many so-called like federations, which is many houses many alliances being a part of the same, like kind of creating a big alliance between themselves. So I think if we were able to accept more houses into the same alliance instead of it just being 3 houses, I think it would create more, I guess, diversity in how how territory war like
comes together,
will be played.
Yeah. Too true. Whisper, tell us in its current state, what are your thoughts on territory war?
Well, I feel like territory war has become less tactical now, that the territory meta has been reduced to only a few units, namely the Keshiks, the Falconetti, the Modal, the Iron Reapers, the Impikes, and the Fortes. So, unlike the Loyal Guards or the Berserkers, these have been overshadowed by other units, and there isn't much variation in unit choice now. The reason I still play it now because I want to have fun with my housemates and get my adrenaline pumping fighting to defend a city with my life.
Yeah, it seems to be a common theme that the variety is sort of not there. I feel that it could be a thing that not just you guys or myself, but a lot of other players are potentially feeling as well. That the variety isn't there, and that's not healthy for any game to not have variety, especially when they've got the units there. I mean, the devs have done a terrific job with creating all of the units that they have. It's just a shame that they don't want them all used, or that's sort of how it would seem to me. Thaldrin, territory war, current state. How do you feel about it?
Not great. I mean, some of the main, or just the main systems of the new setup with Prestige is essentially just don't really work. Like, everyone can participate, but if you're not in a big house, there's not a lot of point, because you won't be able to get the prestige that a big house can get, so you automatically can't get into the fight if they declare war. But ultimately, the player base has essentially circumvented that, and no one uses it anymore. And ultimately, if you do, you just get punished in the end, which is a good idea. Their theory was good, but it just didn't end up working, and it's kind of excluded the smaller houses because they can't really compete, so they just become essentially raiding houses. And hope for the best, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, look, it's quite unfortunate. My opinion on that system is the prestige makes it very difficult, and even I've noticed as well that some of the quests that you need to do to raise a house's prestige, a lot of it is about playing alone. It's about making or getting into games and achieving things that are really only achieved as a single player. It's not like group together with your house and play any battle. Like, it'd be good if you could get 5 housemates together and go and attack a bandit camp, and that gave your house 200 prestige, because then that's encouraging doing something together as a house, or even 5 of your house members doing an expedition, something that would encourage doing something with your house, in my opinion, is a better way that it should actually happen. But the devs have got their roadmap, and hopefully they examine all things and start to change it, because I remember a time when small houses could attack anything at any time, and it sort of meant more houses were actually being involved in territory war, and these days it doesn't sort of feel like that's the case so much. So obviously, with all that said, guys, the next thing that I want to touch on is what is the biggest change that you feel that territory war needs to, I suppose, improve your opinion of it? What are your thoughts?
I think that territory war shouldn't be about how many people you have in your house or your alliance. It should be more strategic and more tactical. And also, I think the devs should accommodate those beginner players more. Even though territory war is in-game content for the game, I think it's totally different from normal siege battles you play. So if there was some kind of tutorial for the more or less experienced players, I think it would be very... good for them to be able to learn the curves of territory war. The custom games that they have added recently, I think that helped a lot as well, because you are able to make scrim games, play with your house against other houses, so you maybe know what territory war is like.
Yeah, and it's a fair point you make too. That generally speaking, yeah, the newer players can't really join into territory war because they don't have units that are strong enough, the right color, or even a good enough level to bring into territory war. I think something that the devs could potentially look at to address new players almost not having any chance in territory war is almost I suppose if you bring in, say, a green unit like the green pikes that I know everyone loves to hate, maybe a green unit could be given in a territory war time. Maybe that could be given the strength or the health of a purple unit or some sort of a huge buff to allow a new player to come in and have a go. They may not know what they're doing in territory war, but maybe that's a way to help get them involved. Whisper, what do you think is the biggest change that territory war could use?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the biggest problem for territory war is the limit that the meta puts on using certain units. I'd love to see a change in the meta. Units like the Iron Pagodas, Loyal Guards, or the Halberdier Sergeants should be used more. Perhaps a slight buff to these overshadowed units and a nerf to the more overpowered ones will help increase the variation in units.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've said it before myself that I think the archer units, your Namcans, your Vassal Longbowmen, anything that shoots arrows should almost do 3 times as much damage as they do now and have twice as much health as they do now, just so that, as we know, if you've got Falconetti pummeling the wall in a territory war, the Falconetti are one of the first units you try and take down because of the damage they cause, and they're a ranged unit. And, like in most battles, if archers were on a wall, loosing arrows into a field of enemies, it would do substantial damage before they got to the wall. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see archers pose a much greater threat in territory war. I think just looking at what units aren't being used and giving them some real viability would be a fantastic thing. Thaldrin, biggest change that you think territory war could use?
For a start, ultimately, a rework with a prestige system so that smaller houses can join in. I mean, we the players have circumvented it, so we don't use it, but ultimately it just means that it's a system that doesn't need to exist anymore.
Yeah.
So there's that. Issues with, for instance, because of the big houses, say a small house does capture something, they probably won't hold it, because even if they have, say, a solid 15 people defending it, maybe 5 musters, a bigger house is going to come along with 100 people and just walk over them because they'll win the war of attrition. And ultimately there's nothing that they can do unless it's a certain city that you can fully defend and protect your units so that they don't run out. You'll just lose ultimately. And again, it comes to also with the unit issues like ours on Frontier. At the start of the territory war, we have our purple units and our gold units locked, which I think is a good thing, because it means that the older units or the weaker, the blue units, the green units, they actually get used. They get to show off their strengths. Like, for the longest time since I've played this game, I've always heard people say that the squires are shit, and they always go with the Connotori, which though true, but if you put the right doctrines on it, my squires can beat someone's Connotori, and my squires can even beat Cav, and they're meant to be hard countered by Cav.
Yeah.
But we don't use those once that everything's unlocked, because they just die to anything that breathes on them that's higher than their own tier.
Yeah, too true.
So new players can't do it, and we have the mercenary systems where that you can hire a high tier unit, which is good, but they're not elited at the very least. So ultimately, as most players know, your unit's pretty much useless unless it's elited.
Sure.
Especially in territory war.
I mean, it is good that with the mercenary system, they've now made it that the units are the levels that they are at and actually have some doctrine. So, I mean, that is a good thing, I guess, for the mercenary system.
Yeah, it's recently gotten an improvement, which is great. But ultimately, push comes to shove, when it comes to territory war, if you don't have an elite unit, at the very least, you're probably not going to be told to go away. It would
almost be worth maybe the mercenary system having a rework where, let's just say, for example, if you've got a unit that isn't elite or isn't max level, that if you could hire mercenaries that actually turn your unit into an elite unit for territory war. I mean, that could be another way to do it, perhaps.
Yeah, and then when the week rolls over, it just goes away same as normal. It goes back, reverts back to what it was.
Yeah. Interesting thought. Yeah, certainly could use something. So I think to wrap up our final thought for this, guys, which hopefully this is something that the devs, after listening to any of this, if hopefully they do, from where it is right now, what would you like to see territory war become? I mean, like, do you think it needs a change to become something else or something bigger, or does it need an addition? Just like, where would you like to see territory war? What would you like to see it become? It's no.
I think territory war should become a place where competitivity and fun can go together. Even though like you're pursuing victory with your house, you should be able to have fun no matter if you're an experienced player or inexperienced.
No, true. Whisper, where do you think territory war should head for?
Well, I want to see territory war become a place where the casual and veteran players can have fun together, enjoying the heat without the toxicity. And people play with different playstyles should be able to shine. Of course, the change in meta will help with that, but the dev's response time is still too slow, I think. An example would be the Axe Raiders. So right after they came out, everyone knew they were OP, and with the damage reduction, their ability to phase through units, their agility, and having both range and melee attacks made them one of the most broken units in the game. And even with something as obvious as that, it took the dev team a whole season to finally nerf them. So yeah, I'd like to see a faster response time in balancing units. I think another important thing to note, as Snow has said multiple times, is that smaller houses still struggle with territory war. The problem lies, I think, is in the system of the grinding. From maintaining a high prestige of the house, having a high-level players in the house, keeping the numbers high throughout the war and such, it's much more difficult to keep up well with the bigger houses for smaller houses. So I think a nice change to territory war might be something that lets smaller houses fight more easily, and skill should be equally important as numbers, in my opinion. A way to fix that perhaps is making territory war feel like a siege, where only 15 people can join, and if one dies, they respawn with the timer. And that way, even if you only have 15, you can still keep respawning without having to actually use 100 people to muster in, and you can have a chance to defend the city even against 100 people, since only 15 of them are allowed to join.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, yeah, making it that a certain number of people, once you're in, that's your team who are attacking or defending, and yeah, even if you do maybe have 5 musters, for example, and it cycles through, and the people who die are on a 5-minute cooldown or something of that nature, so that you can still sort of move through. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that they definitely need to allow a way for the casuals to still have an impact and fight against the people who do play every day. Get the smaller houses involved, and yeah, I think giving those smaller houses an ability somehow to fight against, a 30-player house, the ability to fight against a 100-player house. Yeah, I think it'd be great if they could think of some way to make that happen. That's really cool. Thaldrin, what would you like to see territory war become?
Pretty much the same as everyone else. I mean, main issue with it is accessibility and the ability to participate. Even changes to make it so that a small house doesn't get overwhelmed. Small houses can actually feel like they can go out and do something. A lot of small houses just don't bother. Like one of the houses in our alliance, a lot of their members just don't bother with territory war. We do what we can to help them, but ultimately it's just the way territory is that doesn't interest them, and they don't feel like they can participate or keep up. And I will mention that one day, hopefully, we will get a proper bird's eye view camera, just in all battles.
Yep.
Territory war specifically, but because it just doesn't work when you go to use the Z function and the camera is coming from one side of the map, but you need to see the other, and you can't because there's a building.
Yeah. Yeah, true. No, it's awesome. Some really valid points, and points and opinions that are been raised by not just me, but people that play the game, and people that are looking at the game through their own eyes with their own minds. So look, hopefully this video gets some eyes on it, and the ears of the devs are on, and they hear what we say, and they can certainly take some of it on board. So look, I thank you guys very much for coming along and spending this time to get some opinions out there and share your thoughts on the game. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Some thoughts from real players who have been in the game long enough to know what they're talking about and know how they feel. I think it's something that we can take away from that seems to be a bit of a common theme, that Territory War is a great social event for having fun with your friends. It's a very tactical, very strategic thing that as a team you have to work together, and everyone means something. Everybody is important. So I don't think the devs could have done a better job with creating something that really forces people to work together, because if you weren't working together, you certainly wouldn't have any chance of success at all. I think something that we notice in there as well, a common theme, is that we need more people to have the ability to join into Territory War. Whether it's the smaller houses, whether it's solo players, we need a way to get these people into Territory War, and we need to sort of encourage the solo players to even want to join a house, or just some way to get involved even at low levels, because let's be honest, someone new starting the game today, if they have to wait 6 months before they can do Territory War, you might lose them as a player. So we need to get them in there early. And we really need to see some changes to allow a bit more variety and shift away from that meta that we see now, where it's the same 4 or 5 units in Territory War. I mean, as we know, the devs have done a terrific job designing many different units of many different abilities and skills, and we want to see them in battle. We want to see more archers on the wall. We want to see people with swords and shields doing more damage. We want to see those things you've created out there actually doing their job. So look, these are just some thoughts of some people who play the game, and maybe it'll give you a little bit of insight as to how some people are feeling. Now, if you've watched here to the end, I encourage you to drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I will be sharing this video directly to the developers, so hopefully they'll have a chance to look over it and get an understanding for some thoughts. So if you want the devs to see some comments, hey, look, drop it below. Do you have your own suggestions, or do you agree with some of ours? And look, don't forget also, while you're here, to hit that notification bell, subscribe, and like the video so you'll see the next one that drops from the channel. Thank you everyone who've taken the time out of your day to watch this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And of course, we will see you on the next one.